Hey there, folks. This is Matt Welch with Star Local Media, being joined by Bryan Murphy. And not exactly an official episode of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast per se, but kind of our just a rapid reaction of sorts. Today is one of the seminal days on the high school sports calendar. It is the UIL's biennial realignment.
It's one of the best days of the year, man.
It really is, man. I mean, we've talked about it before. Just the scene out here. We're recording this from Birdville ISD's Fine Arts and Athletic Complex. I mean, the scene out here is just, it never disappoints. I mean, it's really like we joke, it's like the New York Stock Exchange with high school football coaches. Is just once those new districts drop and just all sorts of just chaos and calamity ensues. And today was no different, man. So yeah, we're obviously, I mean, there's a ton to talk about. We're just going to give some cursory reactions. We can't get to everything. There just isn't enough time to at the moment. We'll have a chance, later on in the week when we get to Thursday's podcast to kind of do a more composed, look at kind of what has transpired today. But just as far as just some kind of spur of the moment reactions to this, Bryan, where do you want to start, man? I mean, you can go a whole lot of different places with this.
Man, the first thing that stood out to me was obviously Plano ISD and Allen getting split up. And when I finally saw you across the way, through all the madness, I was like, dude, before we even brought up anything else, I was like, when was the last time Plano and Allen weren't in the same district?
They've been in the district together every year since 1998. That is, I mean, so it was just a foregone conclusion. Just that, okay, yeah, I mean, they're, they're 5
attached
miles
to the hip.
Yeah, they're 5 miles apart. That why would anything change? The UIL, I guess, they just drew that line in the sand, and yes, now Allen is headed off to be in a district with Denton Braswell, Denton Geyer, Little Elm, who's making the jump to 6A for the first time. We'll get to them in a sec. And then the two McKinney schools, McKinney and McKinney Boyd, as well as Prosper. So there's a little bit of familiarity with where they're at now, but obviously, getting to rekindle those rivalries with with Geyer, who they were initially supposed to play in Week 1 football. Now they're going to play just during district play. But yes, Allen has a brand new district, and then with Plano ISD, they're now in the same district as Louisville ISD. So Louisville, Flower Mound, Hebron, and Capel, and Marcus, in addition to Capel, over in District 6A. So, yeah, I mean, it's, it caught everybody by surprise from both sides, because again, like you assume, proximity, just you would assume they're attached at the hip and whatnot. And the thing with on Allen's side is they're not bummed about any of the teams that they're in. It's just kind of the proximity or now lack thereof with some of these other schools. Because
you're traveling to Denton maybe maybe twice a year. You got to travel to Little Elm, but you still have McKinney. You're right down the street from McKinney Boyd. I love Allen and Prosper staying in the same district, because that has been a good little rivalry, and not just football, and a lot of sports. The basketballs and soccer and baseball and whatnot. They've been the two best teams in 9-6A as we know it now, and they stay together. Obviously, McKinney Boyd staying there, but either way, it was going to be tough for Little Elm.
Yes.
Regardless, we thought it was either going to be this route with Allen, Plano, McKinney, maybe Prosper, or we thought, and obviously with Denton Braswell, you kind of figured they would be paired in with Braswell. They're so close in proximity, but then, or they were going to go Louisville ISD, with Flower Mound and Marcus and those schools, and that was going to be tough either way. I'm looking at it. Would they rather be in District 6A right now, or would they rather be in District 5-6A?
There just isn't a preferable one, because that's the thing. Like, you might not have in 6A, you don't have just a juggernauts like Allen and Geyer.
But you have 5 very good teams.
Yes, there isn't really and this is even just beyond football. But I mean, Louisville ISD and Capel are just so solid all across the board. There just isn't a sport where you look at those two and think okay, well, this is going to be a cakewalk here and there. It's kind of fluctuates as to which team's kind of the power program, but they always have great programs across the board. The result is, though, you get two pretty balanced competitive districts. So it's not like the weights shift in any one way in one direction versus the other. I mean, and they're going to see each other come playoff time too, because both districts are in Region 1 and they're right next to each other. So those will be the bi-district matchups with 5-6A, the Allen, Little Elm, McKinney, Prosper, Denton district going up against District 6-6A with Plano ISD, Louisville ISD, and Capel.
We're getting a fun bi-district round. You're going to get a Prosper against Flower Mound, or a Prosper against Louisville, or Allen against Hebron, something like that first round. That's good. I like that. But we're going to get Geyer and Allen.
Yeah.
In the same district for the next 2 years. That jumps out at me also. And can Braswell compete? They're coming off a great year, and then they get rewarded by getting paired in with Allen and Geyer and Prosper, who you think are the 3 favorites in that. Well, Allen Geyer, swap them around. Who knows? They're 1 and 2, obviously, and then Prosper. You got off. Just first glance, is the third best team football wise.
Yeah.
And that kind of leaves the door open for Braswell, maybe a little, maybe McKinney.
Yeah.
A lot of McKinney's young players this year. That kind of leaves them, to take fourth by the horns, but it's not going to be easy for teams like Little M and McKinney Boyd.
Elsewhere, in 6A, at least within our coverage area, form kind of holds elsewhere. The Garland ISD district stays intact with Wiley, so it's nothing changed there.
Yeah.
With Mesquite ISD, it's still those 3 plus the 2 Rockwall schools. Tyler Lee, the new addition, though, Skyline. There was when there were some rumors that was a popular candidate to be shifted out east in this realignment cycle. That pans out. Those those 2 districts are next to each other over in Region 2, which I guess got a bit of a new look with DeSoto and Duncanville and Cedar Hill making the move from Region 1 to Region 2.
That's probably the best district in 6A in the state.
Yeah.
From just top to bottom, you have the Mansfields, and then you throw in Waco, Midway, Waxahachie, DeSoto, Cedar. That's tough. Even think about that as a basketball district with Duncanville, Cedar Hill, DeSoto, Waxahachie, the Mansfields. That's brutal.
That's the thing, because everybody. The focus out here this morning is all just football.
Yeah.
So you don't have a chance to, kind of like over in District 6A. Now we get to see Keontae George going up against the Plano ISD schools for these next 2 years. That's going to be awesome. Capel and their awesome team. So that's something to to look forward to. Let's see. All right. Let's quickly talk a little bit of 5A now, because obviously I know that's where a lot of your attention was focused on today.
And so speaking about football, I had a couple of my teams, my head coaches in the Frisco area, scrambling for games, for non-district games, because some curveballs were thrown a little bit. In 5A Division 1, you have the Frisco schools that we thought would be together: the Heritage, Centennial, Independence, Lone Star, Reedy making the move to Division 1, and then obviously Wakeland. We knew they were going to be paired together. Probably the Colony, we knew that as well, and they did get thrown in there. But then a wrench into the plans of Frisco ISD was Denton and Denton Ryan getting thrown in there. So that means we're getting Denton Ryan and Lone Star for the next two years in district. Obviously Ryan knocked out Lone Star in the playoffs in kind of surprising fashion and blowout fashion, but that was a surprise. And that's a bigger district than what they thought. And so Rayburn, he's scrambling because he couldn't find a week 2. He couldn't find a lot of 6A schools that wanted to play a 5A powerhouse, and he's looking, and it looks like Euless Trinity was the team. Coach Cole, he was scrambling. I believe he had the Colony locked up as a non-district, and he kind of knew that would be a possibility. They'd play in the same district, so then he's scrambling, and then he almost had it locked in with Plano, Coach McCullough in Plano, but then they actually end up getting Liberty. So familiar. They're actually playing Liberty and Frisco.
Okay.
2 teams that were in the same district the last 2 years. Now they play them in non-district, and then they play the rest of Frisco ISD and then Denton ISD.
It really is one of just the underrated subplots of it. Is how much, especially when the UIL throws you a curveball like this, how much it sends these coaches scrambling to try to fill their non-district schedules.
And you're like, oh crap, I was supposed to play that team in non-district, and now we're in the same district.
Like Allen, for example, and it's it's especially tough for a program like Allen, who's programs like Allen and Duncanville, the real heavyweights of the state. It's a little bit tougher to schedule those games because just teams aren't as willing to just jump at the gun to play those teams during their non-district schedule. So like Allen, as of right now, they've got the first 3 weeks of their schedule filled in, but last I talked to head coach Terry Gamble, they don't have a week 4 opponent. It does create just this game. You had the Rockwall head coach Rodney Wood walking around with a sign that said need an opponent for week 4 or whatnot.
Did he ever get that filled?
I think it's still open.
I think legend has it he's still over there with us.
So it does send a lot of folks scrambling. Over in 5A Division 1, though, my initial look was that you have just this beast of a football district over with 7-5A now D1 with that's where Highland Park resides, along with Longview. They were making the drop down, and there was some talk that perhaps we could get them in Highland Park and John Tyler, maybe McKinney North, which turned out to be the case. McKinney North, West Mesquite, they're part of that district in 7-5A D2. A district like 6-582 then, where you have a couple of our Carrollton schools, Newman Smith and R.L. Turner.
Now that makes no sense to me.
Then listen, you look at what is it, an 8-team or is it a 9-team?
It's 9.
It's a 9-team district. 8 of those teams make sense because you have Newman Smith, R.L. Turner, then you have Brian Adams, Molina, Samuel, Sunset, W.T. White.
And those are all Wilson. Equally balanced. Talent-wise teams.
Those games are going to be very spirited and competitive. And then you have Lancaster in that district.
you think, okay, Lancaster should run the table, but how's that going to help them going into the playoffs? Yeah. You know what I mean? You're playing Molina and Adams and Sunset weekend, and we got Samuel. Yeah. Those are 60-point.
There won't be a single game in that district that Lancaster plays that's decided by less than 7 touchdowns. No. And yeah, you wonder in the grand scheme of things, again, that's going to be, because again, it's a 9-team district, so you get just 2 non-district games. Mm-hmm. So you gotta schedule just the heavyweights of heavyweights to try to just get your kids tested against the kind of competition that they're going to see come playoff time, because you're essentially looking at 2 months where you're not going to play a game that's at all going to be remotely competitive. But nevertheless, though, still a good draw for Newman Smith, Earl Turner. Heck, maybe Newman Smith finishes second in that district. Who knows? I mean, you've got that. Then, like you mentioned, with with Frisco ISD, I mean, the Colony getting a tough draw being in that district once again. Over in 5A D2, we can quickly look at that before we call it a day here. Let's see, Poteet kind of has the same thing. Mesquite Poteet was dropping down to Division 2. I'm sorry, but they're with a whole mess of DISD schools. You have Adamson and Conrad, Hillcrest, Thomas Jefferson, Kimball, Seagaville, South Oak Cliff. Be a good one. Yeah. South Oak Cliff's definitely got some skins on the wall, and Spruce. So again, not the kind of a bit of a lopsided top-heavy district and whatnot. 7-5A Division 2, which is one that's very, very lots of Star Local Media coverage in that district with the Frisco ISD schools. So Frisco, Lebanon Trail, Liberty Memorial, Lake Dallas is still in that district, as is Lovejoy, and that's where Prosper Rock Hill's going to.
Yeah, and we knew, barring anything crazy, they'd be thrown in there with the rest of Frisco ISD. Denison's still in there, so you still got to travel up to Denison. But other than that, Lake Dallas is kind of far. But where else are you going to put Lake Dallas? Yeah. So
it makes sense in theory, and I'm curious to see what how much of that Prosper element that Rock Hill's going to have going for it, because obviously Prosper was it's just been so good for so long that how much of that affects it. Is it going to be one of those like Memorial and Lebanon Trail where they're not going to have any seniors for this first year? Okay, so it'll be legit from the starting from scratch.
Yeah, and in other sports you can kind of get away with not having seniors, in soccer and certain sports like that. But in football, you kind of need those 18-year-old men on the field. So it might be a year of transition for Rock Hill. But we've seen Memorial do it, we've seen Lebanon Trail do it, but I mean, off the top of my head, who's the best team in that district? Is it Frisco? Is it
I'd say
Lovejoy?
Yeah, you probably go to default to Frisco or Lovejoy. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, though, is that the landscape does change a lot because of those. I mean, they only lost 2 teams from the previous realignment, but they were 2 of the 4 playoff teams in Braswell and Reedy. Yeah, so they get
Liberty and Reedy essentially just swapped. So,
I mean, it's just a crazy day, man. There's just this day never disappoints, and obviously there's plenty more coverage to come. As we'll have stories on our website, starlocalmedia.com, just talking about all of the different just fallout and storylines and all that. We'll be back on Thursday with a more extensive episode of the podcast, and perhaps a bit of an upgrade in presentation, perhaps. Actually, a fairly unique episode of the podcast coming on Thursday, so stay apprised for that. Folks, that'll do it from here out in Birdville. Brian Murphy, Matt Welch, appreciate y'all for checking this out. You enjoy your week, and we will talk to y'all later.